I'm Julie Baumgardner, and this is the Marriage on the Daily podcast, the podcast designed to give you tools and encouragement to help you do married well on the daily. Because after all, it isn't the grand gestures that make or break your marriage. It's actually what you do or don't do on the daily that either builds a strong foundation or chips away at your core. You can do this, and I'm here to help. Welcome to the Marriage on the Daily podcast, the podcast for young married couples that brings you practical wisdom for building a healthy marriage. I'm your host, Julie Baumgardner, and today I am so excited to have Sharon Hart May with us. Sharon is a leading marriage and family expert. She is an author and a speaker. She's a longtime therapist. She is the founder of Safe Haven Relationship Center in San Diego, California. And she is the creator of Safe Haven Marriage Intensives. She's actually one of the pioneers of marriage intensives. She helps couples, women, and leaders focus on what matters most so they can love well in all their relationships. Welcome, Sharon. I am so excited to have you here today.
Oh, thank you, Julie. It's a blessing to be here.
I thought that it would be very helpful for us to have a conversation around this idea that I hear so many young couples talk about, and I know you do too, that if you marry the right person, you're not going to have conflict.
Oh my goodness, that is such a good topic. That comes up all the time.
Yeah. And so, first of all, what would you say to that statement? If you marry the right person, you're not going to have conflict.
That statement is so not true because you can marry the right person and still have conflict. Because we need an understanding that conflict isn't dangerous for our marriage if we know how to argue well. If, research shows that if you aim to have no arguments and no conflict in your marriage, Julie, that it's predictive of divorce or not doing well 4 years later.
Right.
So making your aim, we're not going to argue, we're only going to get along, we're not going to disagree, does not foster a healthy marriage relationship.
And, I think about when couples come together, you might have someone who really isn't afraid of conflict, and the other person, if they even think that there's a slight hint of conflict, they start backing out of the room. And so what do you do with that? How do we help couples figure out that one, conflict isn't bad, as you said, but what do we actually do with conflict?
Absolutely. I think to start out with, we need to understand that conflict, that arguing, actually is a way of us getting to know each other and intertwine our lives.
Oh my gosh, you've got to unpack that because people don't think like that.
Yes. It's like I was talking to someone the other day and they were dating. And I said that this guy just didn't have an opinion. And so it was everything that she wanted. And she said, I want him to push back a little bit to say, no, I don't want to do Italian tonight. Or no, I think we should, open up our Christmas presents on Christmas Day, not Christmas Eve. That when we are able to bring our views, our needs, our longings, our lifestyle preferences, and what we like, when we bring those into the marriage relationship, we're not going to think exactly alike. What I want to do Saturday morning and what my husband wants to do Saturday morning are totally different. And so I might say, hey, let's, read a book, let's go on a hike. And he says, no, let's watch the football game. And now we might have a bit of arguing back and forth where I give my opinion, he gives his opinion, that we now are out there saying, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. That is okay as long as it stays what I call in the backyard and doesn't go sideways.
Mm. Okay, can you speak to what it would look like for a conflict like that to go sideways?
Yes, such a good question. That soon as the event, what is happening, has a meaning put on it, that is about something's wrong with you for wanting that, or something is wrong with you for not wanting what I want. That soon as we say, what's wrong with you that you don't want to go on a hike with me or read a book? You're not a good man. You're not a balanced husband. All good husbands will want to do that with their wives. Or, wow, I thought you were going to be, a wife that would come and sit with me watching football every Saturday morning. And now there's a meaning that gets put on why you choosing that opinion, or you don't want to do what I want to do. And that's where it goes sideways. And when you said, Julie, now I start criticizing. Well, why don't you want to go on a walk? You've got to be a good, godly man, and going on a walk and praying with me and listening to all the, Bible sermons, that'll be good for you. And what's wrong with you for not doing it? Then the husband starts, oh, I don't like this criticism. I don't like this. What is wrong with you? The meaning that then gets put on it is what we back away from, or what we try and pursue, toward our spouse. And it's that cycle, as we know, Julie, that then becomes the dangerous or the hurtful part of a relationship. Not that we have different views.
No. If you really loved me, you would think like I think.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh, like we need to be the same for us to be able to get along, or if we're matched together. And that's not true. Julie, that John Gottman's research shows that 69% of what we argue about is just differences, lifestyle differences, preferences, differences of opinion or taste buds that we're not going to suddenly change and become so aligned. It is how we navigate that together without losing this bond, this connection, this attachment between us.
Yeah. Yeah. I think when you are saying all of those things, it makes me think, one, that it really is important to remember that conflict isn't the problem. Conflict is natural, where you have two people who are raised in two different households with different sets of rules and expectations and that sort of thing. And the second thing that I think about is just this idea that when you get married, if you do disagree on something, my job is to make you kind of my DIY project to get you to see it how I see it. Right? I mean, I think people think like that a lot of times.
Absolutely. And then we get into a negative argument cycle when all I'm doing is trying to convince you that my way is the right way. See my perspective. Can't you understand? Packing the dishwasher with the dishes facing front is the right way to do it, and pushing them in the back is the wrong way to do it. And now I'm saying something's wrong with you for not remembering to do it that way, or not just seeing that that's the way you do it. It's so obvious. And now those arguments become, what is wrong with you? How many times do I have to tell you? If you loved me, you'd remember how to pack the dishwasher and you would just do it. And it is at the heart of a marriage is two struggling human beings, imperfect human beings, who are different. And that's okay. And we don't have to be scared about it, but it's how do we come together as an us? But it's you plus me. And as this us, how do we carve out, you want to pack the dishwasher this way, I want to pack it this way. What's the real way? That's the right way. Well, I always think it's my way, right? But how can we stay connected and reach for a problem solving, reach for a mutual win-win coming to an us in how we resolve it.
Yeah. So just thinking through, if you're fairly newly married and you have found yourself in one of these circumstances where you felt like my way is the right way, or you're not understanding me, or I wanted you to go do this and now my feelings are hurt because you said no, what can couples do in that instance that will be actually helpful to their marriage, help them to build up their marriage, increase their intimacy, build a strong foundation versus kind of ripping it apart?
That is such a good question. And Julie, that is a question we really ask ourselves as married couples, no matter how long we've been married. How do I love my spouse well? How do I come together as an us to face our differences, our difficulties, our different ways of doing things or opinions? And how do we keep that bond as an us? Because we want our marriage to be a safe haven, a place to come home to where I know you love me, you care for me, that even though we disagree, we don't see things eye to eye. I know I'm safe, I'm loved, I'm cared for. I'm your sweetie, and you're my lovey, that we're home, and that we know no matter what, at the end of the day, we're trying to guard and protect that. But that's the most important thing in our marriage, is to guard and protect that safe haven, that bond. So taking the trash out. Love, can you take the trash out? And his version of taking the trash out means I've got 8 hours to do it. My version is you've got about 4 minutes, right? And if you don't do it in 4 minutes, then it's like you don't care about me. I'm not a priority. All the burden is left on me. All other husbands would take the trash out right away. What's wrong with you? You just procrastinate. Now everything's on me. We go places. We make big leaps and conclusions. And it's realizing, having that conversation with your sweetie, with the love of your life, saying, love, let's come together and talk about trash. What is the main issue? The main issue is not that something's wrong with you for not taking the trash out right away. The main issue is when the trash is not taken out, before I start cooking dinner, things get, the trash gets full. It makes it more difficult. That what is most important about the us is our vision for us. What are we working towards? We're working towards a good evening together, cooking supper, maybe, there's young children. And so as the us, they're having a good evening, taking the trash out before dinner is the issue. And coming together and talking about it. Yeah. Not having, getting so triggered. Saying, hey, I would like the trash out before dinner, before I start dinner. How do you feel about that? Yeah. Now, you and me are more important than the trash. I don't want to lose you and me over trash. But can we make the evening more, smooth? And focusing on the bond, what we're really working toward, and putting the meaning we put on that event effective.
Yeah, it makes me think two things. One, what matters most. So I love that you said what really matters most is us. And man, when you're in the throes of things, in the midst of a day and just things happening, it is easy to lose perspective, especially if you're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, all the things. You can lose perspective really fast and things get blown out of proportion, right?
Absolutely. And that takes such emotional maturity. To love well in marriage is not just getting along, having peace and having fun. To love well in a marriage requires us to really grow and mature.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone really tells us that when
No.
we both get married.
Right.
They say go out on dates and surprise each other with little gifts and, affirm each other and do all these lovely things. They don't say, hey, listen here, this man is going to bug you more than anyone is going to bug you. And this woman is going to irritate you more than anyone will irritate you. And you're going to have self-control in the moment. You're going to suddenly see red when you see the trash not taken out. And you're going to have to backpedal in the moment, take a deep breath. What's really going on for me? Why am I so triggered? Is this really important? Yes, it is. How do I share it in a way that's kind while I'm still clear? I'm not going to give up what I need, but I'm going to weigh you with me. Oh my goodness. It's like, tapping your head, circling and jumping on one foot. It takes such character, to live well.
Yeah, I can remember in our first year of marriage, I had done the laundry and I had put the laundry basket literally in the middle of the family room where Jay would have to encounter it when he walked in the room. And he encountered it and walked right over it and came to the back bedroom. And I said, did you see the laundry basket? And he said, what laundry basket? I'm like, what do you mean what laundry basket? The one you had to step over to get back here. And he said, no, it just didn't register. And he said, if you wanted me to do something with that, if you would just tell me, I will. And my initial thought process is, why do I have to tell you? But it speaks to what you're talking about in terms of, because I value the relationship more than I value the laundry. And so me being clear about the laundry, or, hey, would you mind taking the trash out now so that I have an empty trash bag as I'm preparing dinner? Just the clarity around that. It just saves you from a lot of drama.
Oh, absolutely. And, we're very different, even in personality between men and women. And also we're different just from being a man and being a woman. So it's personality differences as well as, I think, male and female difference as to who holds the emotional weight of the family chores and responsibilities. Right. And a lot of times it is women, and we'll do another podcast on the neurobiology of why. And sometimes, for other things, it's the man. The man will say to the woman, didn't you see the red light that you're almost empty on gas? Oh. No.
I would never do that.
Exactly. Did you see the light flash? It needs an oil change. Well, I was wondering what that was, right? And then woman will say, didn't you see the wash? Right. No, there's nothing wrong with him. There's nothing like she doesn't really care about you or doesn't respect you or value you. They're not taking advantage of you. They literally don't see it. And that's where healthy conversations come in, Julie, where you say, let's have a conversation about this. I need you to watch the blinking lights in the car to help me be the best husband. Or I need you to be aware of household chores so that we team around it. Yes. But Julie, the way we can overcome those arguments where we're saying, what's wrong with you for not having done that? Or you should just know, or why do I have to tell you? Is when couples can sort of have more of a rhythm or a protocol. Like every Saturday we're doing wash. So you just know, that there will be a basket for you to pack away wash on Saturday. Or Sunday afternoon, we're just going to double check the cars. Is there gas? Are there any blinking lights? Yes. That way couples can come together as an us and say, we need to team. We want this to work. Yes. If we want a date night every week, We're two adults. Let's put our big boy and big girl pants on and let's talk about it and plan about it.
Yes.
And say, hey, we haven't had a date this month. Just because I brought it up doesn't mean you don't love me and care for me.
Right.
It is, let us have these rhythms. Let's have a vision for our marriage and let's make sure that they're in place and we will both be gatekeepers of it.
I love that both of us are responsible, not just one person. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Can we go back and revisit? You were talking about John Gottman, and he speaks to there are probably 10 irreconcilable differences that couples have throughout the duration of their marriage, which I think for a lot of couples, it frightens them. Like, what do we do with that? Because it does feel like it's the never ending argument. But how do you keep that from hurting your marriage? Just knowing, there's this thing about being historical, right? We've argued about this 100 times. How do you encounter those specific areas and intentionally make sure that you're not doing harm, kind of the do no harm perspective?
Right. And the do no harm is do not harm our attachment bond, our safe haven, where we can come home at night, curl up together in bed and say, I love you. I will never agree with the way you pack the dishwasher. And my husband will never accept the way I fold the towels. I tell you, when he retires, I'm going to make him go work for a hotel where he's going to pack and fold hotel towels. It is like, army precision in doing that. I will never do it, the way he says it's perfect. But at the end of the day, it's the us. It's this bond. Right. You're my friend. You're my companion. You're my life partner. It's you and me, baby doll, yes. And I want to love you well. But because of that, I've got to give you space. This is your life too. Maybe I'll never like football. Maybe I'll never be a morning person and you will always be a night person. Maybe I'll always want to, let's buy the TV because it's on sale rather than let's save up and have the full amount of money to go pay for it. We'll have those differences.
Yes.
But we will make a promise that we'll come together and we'll talk it through safely, lovingly and caringly, rather than, I can't believe your dad never taught you how to save. You are so irresponsible. You just want to go buy that item. You're going to ruin me. Oh, that was a lot of negative criticism, character judgment that you put. And you said a word when we fear our differences.
Yeah.
I think early on, we need to really understand what is my fear. What is my fear around not agreeing finances, intimacy, the lifestyle differences, what we do, what we don't do, and how we do it. What are those deep fears? I fear we will be penniless like my parents were, or I fear, whatever that fear is around our differences. Like, we won't have a good marriage if you don't like football like I do. Or we will grow apart if you don't like country music like I do. Or you don't like listening to praise and worship music. Oh no, you're not going to be a godly man. We really need to understand the fear that fuels our reactions to those differences and really talk about it. Yeah. And it's having those difficult conversations, Julie, which is so surprising. Here we marry, quote, a best friend, a companion. And it is so hard to have these heated, difficult conversations in marriage around these hot topics, right?
It's so interesting because I've had a lot of couples say to me, I just don't get it. We could talk no problem when we were dating. And then we got married, and it's like we can't have a conversation without somehow ending up in an argument. If I had known it was going to be like this, I would never have signed up for this. And I think that I love what you have said about remembering that it really is important to believe the best of your spouse, that they don't get up out of bed in the morning trying to figure out how to get on your last nerve, and that it is really vital that when you are in conflict, that you speak to the issue versus attacking your spouse, that the whole do no harm to the relationship, because you want your relationship to be the safest place. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And to say, okay, this is an issue I have. My husband's using a dish towel, to wipe off, the bicycle seat. Like, oh my gosh, doesn't he get it? You don't do that.
Yeah.
To then say, is this an issue that really is a deeper thing that we need to work out, such as, I need you to team with me to do household chores. I need you to team with me to take responsibility for, living within the budget. Those are issues that are big, that help the us and our vision as to where we're going, our long-term goals, and we need to come together as an us and really support each other.
Yeah.
If your husband is saying we've got to live in our budget, then really think twice before pressing, buy on that website. And if your wife is saying, I need your help in the evenings, we both work, I'm tired too, then really put on your calendar that weeks, once or twice a week, to say, hey, love of my life, are there any clothes I need to fold for you, in the wash? There are things you need to step up to the plate and do. There's other things that really you can let go, because the more you argue about it, they're not going to change.
Yeah.
And it's just going to ruin the night, the day, the weekend.
Yeah.
Like if the dishes are packed facing backwards or forwards, really, they get washed. And if there's a dish in there that is kind of dirty, scrub it and put it back and rewash it. Yes. And as my mom said, when I said, I can't believe he used the dish towel, my mom said, then buy yourself brand new dish towels every 6 months. She said, what is it? $15 for a pack of 8? Easily solved. And he's not doing it because he wants to, as you said, ruin you.
No. Yeah. And I think, gosh,
so there's
such
things we fight for and things, just let it go.
Yeah. I mean, I really do think at some point you have to decide what is worth your energy to be in conflict over. And there are some things that it's like, okay, that really, really is important to me, and I do want to have a conversation around it. But the dishwasher, the wiping the bike seat with the kitchen towel, those things, I'm going to probably conscientiously make a decision that those are not the hills that I'm going to die on when it comes to conflict. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
This has been wonderfully informative. And I wrap up every podcast by asking our guest, what is one thing that you would say to couples, hey, this is something you can do for your marriage on the daily that will be helpful to your relationship? So what's one thing?
That's a good question. I would have to say that every day, and start every day by affirming your love and your connection with your spouse. Wake up and say, love, I'm really glad I've got you. And ending the day of saying, love, I'm really glad I've got you. How did I hurt you today? Or how can I just love on you right now? And when you bookend your days with, no matter what happened between, we're not going to let anything take away that it's you and me. I want to grow old with you, and I want to love you well. And affirming that every day will have an impact.
I love that so much. Well, I just want to thank you for being our guest, and I want to thank our listeners for being with us today. For more resources, updates, and information, you can visit marriageonthedaily.com. And until next time, just remember, it's the little things that matter daily in your marriage.